5:21 local time. Steel shutters snap open along the forward edge of the flight deck. Not alarms, not yet. Just deck crews moving in places they normally would not be this early. On the bridge, no one looks up. They do not need to. New surface contacts bearing 218. The words land flat. Professional. Controlled. No emotion. No urgency. And that is exactly what makes people stop. Inside CIC, 3 faint returns begin sharpening on the scope. At first, they look routine. Low-profile surface contacts moving across calm water, leaving minimal wake. Then the numbers start to change. Speed increases, then increases again. Confirmed 3 contacts. 3 confirmed. The response comes back instantly. The carrier holds course. 25 knots, straight ahead, no deviation. Another update follows, tighter this time. The contacts are accelerating together. For half a second, hands stop moving. On the flight deck, a yellow shirt freezes mid-step beside a parked fighter. Below, in CIC, the plotting table redraws as the vectors stretch forward like claws. 3 surface contacts, not scattered, not drifting, moving together. The radar operator changes the scale. What had been open water suddenly becomes measured space. Closest point of approach starts shrinking, quietly, without drama. Range, 36 nautical miles and closing. Still far. Far enough to feel routine. If this were routine. But it is not. The officer of the deck leans forward, eyes fixed on the repeater. He says nothing yet. He is waiting for confirmation. He is already expecting the answer. AIS negative. No transponder signals. Nothing visible. The carrier does not slow down. It does not turn. Ahead, the ocean remains wide, blue, and indifferent to the tightening geometry beneath it. Another voice cuts in from CIC. Contacts adjusting formation. One ship stays centered. The other 2 drift outward by a few degrees, left and right. Not wide enough to break apart. Wide enough to matter. A familiar shape begins to emerge. No one says it out loud. Update CPA. Recomputing. CPA now under 8 nautical miles if current vectors hold. 8 miles at this closing speed is not much time. The bridge stays quiet. No raised voices, no sharp commands, only controlled breathing and the low hum of systems doing exactly what they were built to do. The escorts are already reacting, but carefully. A destroyer off the starboard quarter eases inward by less than a cable length. Another adjusts speed by half a knot. Tiny movements, invisible to anyone not watching the plot. Inside CIC, a watchstander marks the track numbers in red. Contacts maintaining high speed, 28 knots. Fast for naval vessels. Faster than necessary. A radio operator sends the first hail, standard and clear. Unidentified surface vessels, this is a United States Navy ship operating in international waters. State your intentions. Only static. No reply, no acknowledgement, no correction. The contacts keep coming. Flight activity pauses without anyone needing to say it. Launch crews step back from the catapults. A deck chief raises one hand. Hold, and keeps it there. No aircraft moves. Another update arrives. CPA revised. 6.5 nautical miles. The numbers keep tightening. The sea does not. The officer of the deck finally speaks. Log everything. What has already happened? What is happening now? Every bearing change. Every speed increase. Every second. Long-range cameras lock onto the tracks. On the horizon, grainy silhouettes begin to take shape. Low, angular forms cutting clean wakes. Naval vessels. Still no flag. Still no voice. The carrier pushes ahead, massive and unreadable. A floating city of steel refusing to acknowledge pressure by reacting to it. Then a watchstander breaks the silence. They're not shadowing us. He does not need to explain. Shadowing means matching course, matching speed, keeping distance. This is something else. 3 contacts, high speed. Coordinated movement, intent without announcement. At 5:27, the range drops below 5 nautical miles. No alarm sounds, no dramatic turn, nothing theatrical, only data moving faster, only time compressing. On the bridge, the captain stands with his arms loosely crossed. He still has not spoken. He does not need to. The carrier never changes course, and somewhere ahead, 3 naval ships continue closing, steady and deliberate, as the line between presence and pressure begins to thin. 5:30 local time. The silhouettes sharpen first, then the details. Angular bows, low freeboard, twin masts, no fishing equipment, no civilian clutter. Inside CIC, the identification officer does not rush. He never does. He waits until the match is exact. Contact 1 matches Russian Navy surface combatant profile. No reaction on the bridge, just a nod. Confirming contacts 2 and 3. Same class family. Same signatures. The plot updates. 3 Russian naval vessels. No ambiguity now, no guessing. The question is no longer who, it is why. The range drops again, 5 nautical miles. The carrier still holds 25 knots, straight line, no deviation. It refuses to acknowledge the pressure by reacting to it. A second hail goes out. Russian naval vessels. This is a United States Navy aircraft carrier operating in international waters. You are closing at high speed. State your intentions. The transmission hangs in the air. Nothing comes back. Only static. On the surface picture, the geometry tightens further. The center vessel holds its course, its bow pointed just ahead of the carrier's projected track. The two ships on either side edge wider, their wakes forming shallow angles that begin shaping the water instead of simply crossing it. This is not random. CPA now 4 nautical miles, CIC reports. Time to CPA, 8 minutes. 8 minutes is a lifetime in doctrine, an eternity in headlines, and almost nothing at all in the mathematics of steel and momentum. One escort shifts again, almost too subtly to notice. Another moves into position, turning open water into controlled water. Nobody announces it, everybody sees it. Below deck, the electronic warfare team starts listening more closely. Every emission is logged, cataloged, time-stamped. Every radar sweep from the Russian ships is being quietly archived. The carrier remains silent. A third hail is prepared, then held. No one wants to speak simply to fill the air. Words do not calm a situation by themselves. Posture does. Then the center Russian ship increases speed. Contact 1 now, making 30 knots. That gets attention. 30 knots puts it on a direct intercept timeline. Not a pass, not a shadow, a crossing. The bridge remains calm. The captain finally uncrosses his arms and steps closer to the chart table. How steady is their course? Very steady. No weaving, no corrections. That matters. A vessel intending to pass clear usually makes small adjustments. A vessel intending to test boundaries usually does not. On the flight deck, the hold lasts longer than anyone likes. Jets sit ready but silent. Crew members remain in place, prepared without moving. Their eyes move between the sea and the island. No one speaks. Another update. CPA revised, 3.2 nautical miles. 3 miles is inside comfort, inside courtesy, inside the distance where intent begins to matter more than coincidence. The Russian ships are close enough now for hull numbers to be read through optics. Close enough for crews on both sides to see one another as people, not symbols. Still no radio response. A watchstander says it out loud, mostly for the record. Russian vessels remain silent. Silence can mean restraint or resolve. The center ship holds its line. The two flankers adjust just enough to narrow the corridor ahead of the carrier's bow. They are not blocking, they are suggesting. The range drops under 3 nautical miles. The officer of the deck calls it calmly. Mark this point. Marked. This is where international law stops feeling theoretical and starts being captured frame by frame. A destroyer off the port side brings its long-range cameras fully online. A helicopter crew moves into position without rushing. No rotors turning yet, presence before noise. Then the captain finally speaks. His voice is low, even. Maintain course. No qualifiers, no conditions. The carrier does not blink. Ahead, the lead Russian vessel throws a brighter bow wave as it holds speed. The two flankers remain disciplined, neither surging forward nor falling behind. The formation no longer feels improvised. It feels practiced. 3 warships, 1 carrier. Steel and intent moving through a strip of water that keeps getting narrower. Inside CIC, someone quietly says what everyone already knows. They're not here to talk. No one argues. CPA now 2 nautical miles. 2 miles is close enough to feel. Close enough that one wrong move from either side could become global headlines within minutes. Still, the carrier keeps moving forward, massive and unreadable, her wake clean and unbroken. And for the first time since the contacts appeared, everyone watching the plot understands the real question. This is no longer about distance, it is about who moves first. 5:34 local time. Ahead, the sea still looks unchanged, flat, blue, empty. But the screens tell a different story. Contact 1 increasing speed again. The voice is tighter now. 3-2 knots. That gets everyone's attention. The lead Russian ship surges ahead, its bow wave growing thicker, white water climbing hard along the hull. It is no longer pacing, no longer implying. Now it is pressing. On the tactical display, the center track stretches toward the carrier's projected path, the line sharpening into something unmistakable. The two flanking ships hold their angles, disciplined and patient. Their role is no longer speed, it is containment. CPA revised, CIC reports, 1.8 nautical miles. That number hangs in the air. At that distance, there is no room for drift, no room for misreading. Every rudder movement matters. Every engine order matters. The officer of the deck keeps his voice level. Confirm intent. A brief pause. Then the answer comes back. Contact 1 is on an intercept course, no deviation. That is the line. Across the ship, posture changes. Not dramatically, not visibly, but unmistakably. The consoles seem brighter. Voices drop lower, the mood tightens, and still the carrier moves forward, enormous and unhurried, as though daring the geometry itself to break against her hull. Another radio call goes out, shorter this time. Russian naval vessel bearing 040, you are approaching unsafely. Alter course immediately. The message is transmitted clearly. No reply. The Russian ship does not slow. Range 1.4 nautical miles. On the flight deck, the order finally comes, spoken almost softly. Prepare the helo. The crew moves at once, but without rushing. Rotor covers come off. Tie-downs are checked. Hands move with practiced calm. No one runs. No one has to. The helicopter is not there to escalate. It is there to make the moment unmistakably visible. Inside CIC, electronic activity spikes briefly. They're scanning us, the electronic warfare officer says. Low-power surface search, not fire control, not yet, but active. Everything is being recorded. Every sweep, every pulse, every decision. The Russian lead ship holds 32 knots. The flanking ships tighten their angles just enough to narrow the water ahead of the carrier's bow. They are not just occupying space now, they are shaping it. And this is where miscalculation begins. CPA now 1 nautical mile. 1 mile. At 25 knots, that distance disappears fast. On the bridge, the captain steps forward again. No raised voice, no gesture. Helm steady, the carrier does not give way. Behind them, the helicopter's rotors begin to turn. Slow at first, then faster. Not a roar, a signal. The Russian lead ship is close enough now that individual details can be picked out through optics. Crew silhouettes move along the rails. Binoculars are up. Cameras are rolling. No visible systems are manned, but every eye is locked in. The helicopter lifts smoothly from the deck, climbing just high enough to clear the island before leveling out. It does not surge ahead. It slides into view with deliberate control, placing itself exactly where it needs to be seen. This is still restraint. The helo holds altitude. Its sensors come alive. Below, the sea is captured in infrared, and daylight feeds streaming back to CIC in real time. Visual confirmation, the aircrew reports. Russian naval vessel, bow on. Speed unchanged. The helicopter shifts laterally, never crossing directly overhead, never crowding, never forcing the moment, just close enough to remove doubt. The range drops below half a nautical mile. Then, finally, the first hesitation. Not a turn, not yet. Just a flicker in the wake, a slight shortening of the white water off the bow. The engines are still driving forward, but something has changed. Contact 1, speed fluctuating, CIC notes. Down 1 knot, holding, down again. That matters. For the first time since the contact began, the formation is no longer perfect. The two flankers keep position, but their angles stop tightening. They hold and wait for the lead ship. The helicopter remains on station, cameras locked, recording everything. No lights, no theatrics, just eyes in the sky. Then the Russian lead vessel eases left. Barely, only a few degrees. Not enough to call it a turn in ordinary language, enough to break the intercept geometry. On the bridge, nobody reacts outwardly. Inside CIC, the plotting table redraws. CPA increasing, someone says quietly. The line has been touched, not crossed. The carrier continues ahead exactly as before, course steady, speed unchanged. It does not pursue, it does not reposition. It simply remains where it intended to remain all along. Behind it, the Russian formation begins to loosen. The rigid angles soften. The structure becomes less deliberate, less absolute. Nothing has been launched, no voice has been raised, no dramatic order has been given, but the decision has been made. 5:48 local time. The carrier never changes course. That is the first thing everyone notices when the geometry finally breaks. No surge, no hesitation, no correction on the helm. 25 knots, straight line. The same heading she held before the first radar contact ever appeared. The slight turn of the Russian lead ship continues, almost invisible, but enough. Its bow no longer points toward the carrier's projected track. The white water at the stem begins to thin as speed comes down another notch. Contact 1 now 30 knots, 29. Subtle, but real. Behind it, the two flanking Russian ships stop drifting outward. They do not tighten, they do not advance. They hold in place, caught between pressure and withdrawal. Inside CIC, the plot refreshes again. CPA increasing, now 1.2 nautical miles and widening. No one celebrates, no one relaxes. This is not relief, it is confirmation. The helicopter keeps position off the lead ship's beam, never crossing the bow, never climbing aggressively. Its presence remains steady, disciplined, impossible to ignore. The sensor feed now shows the Russian bridge in sharp detail. Windows, antennas, crew movement. Everything is being documented. A brief radio call comes from the helicopter, calm and professional. Russian naval vessel, this is United States Navy aircraft. You are operating unsafely. Your actions are being documented. The message is repeated in Russian. Still no reply, but the answer is visible. The lead Russian ship reduces speed again, 28 knots. Then 27. Its wake shortens once more. The intercept line dissolves into a passing track that will clear cleanly instead of cutting across. The flanking ships follow a moment later. Not instantly, deliberately. Their angles relax. Their bows swing outward just enough to reopen the water ahead of the carrier. The box dissolves, and the carrier does nothing. It does not press the advantage. It does not adjust speed to make a point. It simply continues forward, massive and unreadable, moving through the space it was always going to occupy. One escort subtly repositions, widening the carrier's protective arc without drawing attention to itself. Another holds station, creating depth instead of pressure. This is not escalation. This is control. The helicopter shifts laterally, adjusting just enough to keep the Russian lead ship centered in its optics as the distance slowly opens. No lights, no signals, no gestures, only quiet observation. Inside CIC, emissions from the Russian ships begin to fade. Radar sweeps come less often now, less assured than before. They're backing off, someone says softly. No one answers. The log already says enough. On the carrier's flight deck, movement begins to return. Yellow shirts lower their hands. A jet crew starts moving again, slowly at first, then back to normal rhythm. Operations resume exactly where they stopped, as if nothing unusual ever interrupted them. Because by this ship's standards, maybe nothing did. The range opens beyond 2 nautical miles. The Russian formation no longer looks rigid. The ships begin to spread more naturally now, no longer behaving like a single instrument. One drops slightly astern, another turns outward, its bow now angled away from the carrier's path entirely. The helicopter stays airborne a few minutes longer, long enough to confirm the change is real, long enough to make sure there is no sudden correction, no last-second surge of defiance. Then it turns back toward the carrier. The landing is routine, uneventful, the rotors slow. The aircraft is secured. Nothing about it appears dramatic. On the bridge, the captain finally steps back from the chart table. He says nothing. There is nothing left to say. Inside CIC, the tracks are downgraded. Red to amber, amber to yellow. Not gone, just no longer dangerous. Russian vessels increasing separation, the tactical coordinator reports. No further aggressive maneuvering. The carrier continues forward. No statement is prepared. No message is sent ashore. No press release waits beyond the horizon. Because this was never about winning. It was about not giving way. The Russian ships remain visible for another 20 minutes, their silhouettes shrinking as the distance grows. They do not turn back toward the carrier. They do not attempt another intercept. They have made their choice, and the carrier has made hers simply by never needing to make one at all. Nothing was launched, no alarms sounded. But the outcome is written clearly in the wake patterns spreading across the sea. Pressure was applied. A line was approached. And without a single shot being fired, the moment resolved itself. 6:05 local time. The sea closes behind the carrier as though nothing happened. Her wake stretches long and clean, a white scar fading slowly back into blue. Ahead, the horizon is empty again. The geometry that once compressed minutes into seconds has relaxed into open water. On the surface plot, the 3 Russian warships are still present, but no longer the same. They are separated now, looser, no longer moving as one shape. One trails aft and to port, its speed reduced to a steady cruise. Another drifts wider to starboard, bow angled away from the carrier's track. The third, once the lead, falls back slightly, its intercept line fully abandoned. No pursuit follows. The carrier does not turn to watch them leave. Inside CIC, the watch changes quietly. Tracks are reclassified. Timelines are closed. Every bearing shift, every speed adjustment, every second of silence is locked into the record. This is the part no one ever sees. Data packets are tagged, video is archived, radar returns are preserved down to the millisecond. The encounter is no longer unfolding. Now it is evidence, not for a courtroom, for memory. On the bridge, there is no celebration, no smiles, no congratulatory gestures, only a return to routine that feels earned precisely because routine was never broken. Resume normal operations, the officer of the deck says, already happening. On the flight deck, jets begin taxiing again. Catapults cycle. The controlled chaos of carrier aviation returns as though the last 40 minutes were nothing more than a brief interruption. To anyone looking from the outside, it would seem like nothing changed. But the sea remembers. The Russian ships remain on radar for another half hour, slowly fading from relevance. Their emissions stay low. Their courses remain conservative. They do not test again. They have learned what they needed to learn. The carrier continues along her planned route. Same heading, same speed, same posture. She does not alter course to make a statement. That is the statement. There is no dramatic debrief on the bridge. No speech from the captain about restraint or resolve. None of that needs to be said. The lesson is built into the structure itself. A carrier does not argue. It does not need to posture. It occupies space. And when that space is challenged, it does not rush to react. It waits. It records. It lets the other side decide how close they truly want to come. In the end, the Russian warships did not break away in panic. They did not flee. They did not signal submission. They simply changed course. And that distinction matters, because this was not a defeat measured by distance or force. It was a decision measured in angles, in knots, in seconds never taken. No one crossed the line, but everyone saw exactly where it was. By mid-morning, the encounter is reduced to another entry in the ship's log. A few paragraphs, a handful of timestamps, a quiet record that pressure was applied and absorbed without fracture. The crew moves on. They always do. Somewhere far astern, the Russian ships continue their patrol, wider apart now, quieter, less certain of the water they thought they could shape. And far ahead, the carrier keeps moving. Its wake dissolves behind it. Its course remains unchanged. Its presence remains unquestioned. It never slowed. And in the end, that is all anyone needs to remember.